People who have worked the drive-thru, what's the weirdest thing you've seen in someone's car? Had a guy consistently come through the drive-thru with his penis out and showing the young girls running the windows. He would always order the same thing, large mellow yellow no ice, always on a Sunday, and always wearing military fatigues. Then he stopped showing up for a bit. We called him Private Peters, as our little sign to call the cops if he showed up again. A month later we get an order for a large mellow yellow no ice, so I decide to take over the window because had a 16-year-old running cash, and sure enough he hands me his money with his dick in his other hand. We convinced the car in front of him to stay in the lane and we called the cops. He got suspicious and left, but they caught him and was charged. There was this woman that would come through and get a hot chocolate every day. Her name was Mary. Mary was an older gal in her 70s, drove an early 90s Lincoln, usually had some old tunes playing, and weighed 60 pounds, if that. She was always so happy and so nice. I always gave her drinks for free because it was always such a treat to see her, and she was just so nice. One other feature I remember is she always rocked suspenders and a random colored fedora every day. I think she reminded me of Miss Frizzle after she retires. One day, she comes through and orders her usual. I said, "Mary, why are you always in such a good mood? What's your secret?" She smiles and waves me closer. I lean out of the drive-thru window and she says, "Really, really good drugs." She winks at me, turns her radio up, and cruises out of the parking lot. Mary is my hero. One time I was with my mom when she went through a drive-thru. The car stalled at the window and wouldn't start. I looked at her and said, "So? Wait for the food and then push?" She said yes. They came to the window with our order, we got everything situated, then I hopped out and started pushing the car. It was a big boat of an Oldsmobile, so I had to push it in a way that made it look like I was sitting on the back bumper. The looks on the faces of the people in the window as I passed by were pretty damn funny. We ended up going inside the restaurant to wait for someone to pick us up. Someone who was working the drive-thru told us we could wait there as long as we needed to and they'd be happy to get us cups for the soda fountain. They checked on us more than once and we were only there for maybe half an hour. I grew up in a family that often didn't have a vehicle. And when we did have one, it usually left us stranded on a regular basis. This was just a frustrating inconvenience, and the folks working in the restaurant were so nice and felt so bad for us. We were just happy to have a ride on the way and a building to wait in. I was working a McDonald's drive-thru in a small town in Michigan. This truck goes through, pays and pulls forward to get its meal. Then a chicken jumps out of the back. I yell for the next car in line to stop, but she looks confused and ends up running over the chicken. It's not dead, but it's a wreck. She looks at me and we're both in tears. She says she has to and I say no. She puts it on reverse and backs over the chicken again. Another employees had to get a shovel and scoop up the dead chicken from the drive-thru. These two ladies with tons of tattoos and cigarettes came through, got their two McKickens, and as they were pulling away I saw there were balloons just crammed into the entire back half of the car. Just filled to the brim with balloons. Another time I was helping these two teen boys when I heard a quack from the back seat. "That's the duck," one of them told me, followed by a honk from the back. "And that's the goose." It's worth noting that they had just left a football game and come straight to the drive-thru, so Lord only knows where the duck and goose were before that. So we have two really crazy drive-thru stories. My family owns a franchise of a fast food chain. My brother is taking the drive-thru order. Lots of muffled talking as though it's a group of people trying to decide what to order, along with some shushing. Not unusual. Car pulls around to the window from the speaker. The trunk pops open and a guy jumps out and begins running like hell away. 4 guys in the car jump out after him, tackle him in the street, throw him back in the trunk and speed off. The other one wasn't so much what was in the car, but I was working drive-thru while a very large local parade that goes down the street in front of the restaurant was happening. Towards the end of the parade, a nice convertible comes crashing through the parking lot, taking out signs and the drive-thru menu board. Turns out they had stolen the donated car from the parade route and took it for a joyride through the parking lot. A baby goat curled up on the passenger side in the front seat. Apparently the woman's friend was giving away one and she knew if she asked her husband to take his truck to pick it up he'd have refused. She was confident he'd give in once he saw the little guy, who was outrageously cute. Just not if he had to go and get it and think it over, since according to her he's tired of me bringing animals home. I gave her a free bag of fries and still sometimes wonder how that turned out. Do you just drive in and tell your husband, "Honey, don't get mad, but wait until you see"? Hobbs, wait, is that a goat in the car? Since this blew up, I'm going to share a great little short film series titled The Goat that is about this topic. A friend sent it to me when she heard the story, which I mentioned in passing. Used to work at McDonald's back in the day. I was training a new girl, and told her to hand the man at the window his drink. The window opens, and I notice the adult man driving is wearing a bib. Weird, but to each their own. As the new girl reaches out her hand to pass the man his drink, he just starts vomiting on himself, violently so, there was splatter. The new girl stood there in shock, so I grabbed her and pulled her back. The window automatically closed and the man eventually drove away. Another weird instance is when I was handing a man a small chocolate shake. I kid you not, a small monkey wearing a diaper hopped up on the man's seat and reached out and took the shake from me. Worst part is, none of my coworkers believed me because I was the only one who saw the monkey. This might count. I was 17 in high school, was a shift supervisor, and it was a Sunday with 3 people called out, so we were slammed. I was cleaning trays, washing dishes, and taking orders in the back at the same time non-stop for 3 hours. My manager comes back and says he needs me to push a van that had broken down at the window. What MF takes such shitty care of their van? I start walking to the front door and look out the drive-through window. There is a young lady in full habit attire with 5 other very elderly women, also in full habit attire. I had never seen a nun in person before or since. They look at me and smile. Sorry about this. Without missing a beat, no problem ladies, we'll take care of it. So me and one other guy push it out of the way and helped the tow truck guy when he came. The nuns thanked us, blessed us, and right off. I look at my co-worker. Did you swear when you heard their car broke down? Yup. Me too. We're going to hell. Yup. Their ass tattoo. I was working the late night shift at a Taco Bell drive-thru when I was 16. This dude came in with a car full of his buddies, all obviously high. While waiting for his food he starts chatting me up about how much he loves Taco Bell. No, like, you don't understand, it's my favorite thing ever. I love you guys. I even have a tattoo. He proceeded to unbuckle, and shift in his seat so that he could stick his ass out his open window. And just dropped thru. Right there on his right cheek, in full color, was the Taco Bell symbol and catchphrase, "Think outside the bun." I was too stunned to really say anything. Never forgot it. Nothing really weird, but my perspective of life changed. I particularly remember an instance of a wealthy family, mother, father and kids, pull through in a very nice and expensive SUV. All smiles, happy and loving family. Kids got whatever they wanted to order. The very next car was a dirty clapped-out Corolla that was littered with garbage, and they had 2 kids in the back seat. Parents, of course, smoking cigarettes in the front. The kids were crying, and the parents simply told them to shut up. Parents got a big-ass meal, children got to share a medium fry. Same planet, different worlds. My first work for someone else job was in high school at a burger place with a red-headed namesake. I'm a people person and could count change back, so onto the register I go. Late night on a Saturday in 1980-something. Really loud happy group at the drive-through window. Made their order clearly, but boisterous and a bit over the top loud. No problem, we get the order together. At the window, he rolls the window down and it's him, his buddies and a keg of beer leaning from the back seat onto a board, with the tap in the middle of the driver's bench seat. He paid, got most of his food and asked for an extra cup with a lid. We were supposed to charge for it but, he fills the cup from the keg, puts the lid on, pops the straw in and hands a full beer back through the window. I look at my coworkers and no one has seen any of this? Dumped my shift soda in the trash and put the beer-filled cup in its place. Pounded that beer in about 45 seconds through a straw. Guess who shows back up at the window? In a quiet voice, he said we forgot something on his order. I had to lean out and he asked if I needed him to get rid of the evidence. Sorry sir, here's your beverage, and out goes the proof of my stupid choice. Worked part-time in a KFC just after I left school. I quit like 2 months later though. Anyway, I'm the one handing out the food and as he's grabbing it I noticed something quite weird on the passenger seat. When he turned away to put the drinks down before I gave him the food I had a quick look and saw a tied-up rope. Bit weird but okay. He turned back around to me to get his food and then turned with his back to me and I look around the whole car this time and in the back seat behind the passenger seat is what looked to be hair. At first I thought it was dog fur but it wasn't at all that thick, it was very thin, blonde hair. I didn't really get a good glimpse before he turned back around. I didn't want him to see me inspecting his car, and he said goodbye to me and drove away. I hope what I saw in the back was just a misunderstanding, however this did give me the creeps for the next 2 months and I was constantly checking the news to see if any updates about it came out. Funny thing is though, the guy behind him came up to the window and asked me if I was looking into his car, and I admitted to it lamau. But let's all just hope that what I saw there isn't what we're all thinking right now. Ooh, I bet I'm too late for this to get seen, but mine haunts me to this day. Basically, this couple with their 3 kids in the back seat being over the top overtly sexual with one another. Making out and pawing at each other and giggling, and at one point the dude poured water on his wife's chest. Big girl in a white wife beater tank. No body shaming here, but I certainly didn't want to see it. They kept looking over at me and my coworker to see if we were watching them. We just didn't give them any attention beyond taking their money and handing them food, and by the time they left they seemed a little annoyed that we weren't engaging with their weirdness. It was just super gross and I felt really awful for their kids. Not a thing but a customer. This man who would come by every once in a while came through. I was at the second window. As soon as he pulled up, all I smelled was weed. I turned to look at him and it was this guy smoking probably a 3-4G backwood, completely dressed up in a very nice suit and very expensive sunglasses. I look at him, hand him the food and say, "How's it going?" He says, "Pretty good, man. You want a hit or what?" I say, "Nah bro, I'm good. If my bosses notice I'm high I'll be fucked." "What's with the suit?" He replies, "I got this stupid fucking parole hearing, man." And drives off. Didn't see him for a while after that. Assuming he got in trouble for showing up smelling like a whole grow house. Once while working at Taco Bell around 1 a.m., in a small country town, a beat-up pickup truck came through. Now his order was not strange, however his teeth were horrible. He ordered something we didn't have ready yet, and after I gave him his change he struck up a conversation with me. That was normal enough until I told him his food was almost done, when he leaned in real close to the window, gestured for me to come forward and whispered in my ear, "Do you have any meth on you? I have cash." I pulled away and handed him his bag, and as the truck passed there was a whole alligator chilling in the back of his truck. Like what, man? We had an old lady who would come nearly every night, about 15 minutes from closing, and order the same thing. A small chocolate ice cream cone. For small orders like that, we would take the order, make the order and hand it to the customer from the first window. She would get her cone, drive very slowly around the building, usually stopping for about 1 minute at the outlet of the drive-thru and finishing the ice cream. Then she would open her door, lean way out, straining against her seatbelt, and then stick her finger down her throat and puke the ice cream right back up in our driveway. So that was part of our daily closing activities, to go wash the mess up with a hose. One Direction lol. They came through after doing a show in Belfast. We were the only McDonald's open at that time of night. At that time, one of them, don't ask me their name, I don't care, stuck his head through the seats from the back and said, "Mate, please don't tell anyone we're here, we just want to eat and leave." My response was, "Yeah, no problem. Who are you?" He sheepishly put his head back where it belonged. I found out who they were when one of the girls on shift started running round the place telling anyone who would listen that she had just given food to X, Y and Z from One Direction and waving around a receipt they had signed for her. So this is definitely not me. One time I was super high in the back of my friend's car and they made me order because I was the only one that wanted food. Bad idea. So when I got to the window, the girl thought I looked cute and said I looked like Andrew Garfield. I was the only one in the car that knew who that was, so I looked him up to show everyone, and right when I did she came back to the window and said, "Oh, you're looking him up?" And my elegant, high self snapped back no, and she just smiled and said, "It's alright if you were?" But my ego was too hurt at that point and I just wanted my food, so I glared at her and told my friend to drive, even though she was cute and I was oblivious to the fact she was flirting. Poor girl. They all laugh at me to this day.